Magnificat anima mea Dominum,
et exsultat spiritus meus in Deo salutari meo.
Welcome to the new episode of the theme Saint Teresa of Avila, Mother of Interior Souls. The image of herself which Saint Teresa left in her books is as bright and as fresh as ever, and she has more readers probably now than at any time in the past, and certainly many times more than during her own life. Father Silverio OCD, a Theresian authority, former Superior General of the Discalced Carmelite Order, producer of the critical edition of the complete works of Saint Teresa in Spanish, estimates that no other book by a Spanish author is as widely known in Spain as her life or interior castle, with the single exception of Cervantes' immortal Don Quixote. Essentially, the appeal of Saint Teresa is attributable to the power of her teaching and of her sanctified life, which has influenced people of all kinds. Saint Teresa, who was no scholar, merited the reputation as a writer and became one of the classics both of the literature of Spain and of the worldwide literature of Christian devotion. To Spaniards, there is no writer whose personality communicates itself with greater immediacy and intensity than Saint Teresa of Avila. She disliked pretentiousness and liked to be unconventional and colloquial with her readers. While dealing with prayer and contemplation, the Catechism of the Catholic Church depends much on the teachings of Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross, and Saint Teresa of Lisieux. The recent popes give a fitting place in their official documents to this trio of OCD saints. Saint Teresa continues as an ecumenical figure. She gave her life to undo the harm caused by the Protestant Reformation. Today, Protestants read her avidly. She is as fresh today as when she wrote 4 centuries ago. On October 15, 2010, at 7 p.m., on invitation, I was at British Consul in New Delhi to listen to Dr. Rowan Williams, Archbishop of Canterbury and the head of the Church of England. On seeing me in my Carmelite habit, he told me that he was in touch with the Carmelites in London. To my great surprise, he told me that that day, October 15, celebrated the feast of Saint Teresa of Avila. I asked him, how did he know it? He answered, I am an admirer of Saint Teresa of Avila and enjoy reading her works. Now a short introduction to some of the works of Saint Teresa. First, the Book of Life. The Book of Life was entitled by Saint Teresa as a book on the mercies of the Lord. It came down to us in 2 drafts. Origin of the first draft. Her spiritual directors found Saint Teresa led by unfamiliar paths in her prayer life. They were not sure if she were led by a genuine spirit or deceived either by her own imagination or by evil spirit. She was asked by them to put on writing her way of prayer in order that it could be judged by competent spiritual directors. She acceded to their proposal and finished the work in 1562. That was the content of the first draft of the Book of Life. Her report was unanimously approved by the level-headed theologians of the time, as well as by the members of the Inquisition. Further, they stated with one accord that her mystical and contemplative experience was a happy realization of the dogma of justification defined and promulgated by the Trent Council. And she stood a witness against Luther, who denied the internal justification of the soul by grace. We have lost the first draft. She wrote the second draft, probably by the command of Father Dominic Banus, and finished the same in 1565. Here he explains the theme of prayer based on her personal experience. Among the readers, she includes some of her own spiritual directors who felt that they would never be able to enjoy prayer because of their neglect of the same for many years. She encourages them to have a resolved determination to practice prayer. Once we give ourselves to God, He will do wonders. She narrates her own experience. For 18 years, she neglected prayer. But the moment she started prayer wholeheartedly, God did wonders in her. Her ups and downs in the exercise of prayer and her final attempt to be faithful to prayer constitute the content of the first 10 chapters of the book. In short, she encouraged her spiritual directors thus: I was like you, neglected prayer for 18 years, but once I gave myself fully to God, He did wonders in my life. So follow me. But the reader cannot understand the nature of the gifts of God unless and until he has some knowledge of what prayer is. So she speaks of prayer and its progress in higher degrees under the figure of 4 ways of watering a garden. This is the content of the chapters 11 to 22. The chapters 11, 12, 32 deal with meditation or discursive prayer. Chapters 14, 15 with the prayer of quiet. The chapters 16 and 17 with the prayer of the sleep of the powers. And chapters 18 to 22 with prayer of union as she knew it at the time of its compositions. Later, we will have a detailed study of these degrees of prayer. Now anybody can understand the admirable and extraordinary things God confers on a soul given in prayer. Hence the saint goes on treating of the extraordinary mystical phenomena such as visions, revelations, prophecies, ecstasies, transverberations, levitation, flight of the spirit, heroic growth of the virtues, and so on. In this part, Saint Teresa speaks of the problems devil creates for man. The key element of her teaching about the devil, so psychologically and spiritually sound, is the utter uselessness of all the fears concerning him. she says, "The devils are no more trouble to me than flies." All these form the content of chapters 23 to 32. Finally, the saint describes the effects of prayer. First, as benefiting others. Here she gives the history of the foundation of the Discalced Carmelite order. And this is the content of the chapters 32 to 36. She then enumerates the new favors received from God and the effects produced by them in her soul. And this is the content of the chapters 37 to 40. Hearing of the book about 4 years after its composition, the Princess of Eboli insisted upon its being lent to her, promising Teresa that it should be read only by herself and for her husband. Princess being at that time a good friend of the OCDs, it was hardly polite, it was hardly politic to refuse her. But her undertaking was not kept. The book's content became the property of the entire household, and some of the experiences it describes were scoffed at as delusions. The princess, who joined the order later, was eventually expelled from it. She then took revenge by denouncing the saint to the Inquisition. On hearing this, Father Banus gave the second draft his approval in writing. In order to protect it against confusion with unofficial copies in circulation, the authorities kept it in the Inquisition's archives. Saint Teresa never saw it again. After the saint's death, Blessed Anne of Jesus obtained the release of the book with a permission to have it published. The autograph of the second draft is found in the El Escorial Library, Spain. Thank you.
Magnificat anima mea Dominum.